In a world that constantly promotes social interaction and external validation, the idea of finding joy in solitude is often overlooked. We are encouraged to seek happiness in others, to find fulfillment in relationships, and to chase external success. Yet Buddhism offers a transformative perspective. The path to true happiness lies within ourselves. As Buddha once said, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. What if we could find fulfillment not in the noise of the world, but in the stillness of our own hearts? This video explores 7 profound lessons on the joy of being alone, as taught through the lens of Buddhist philosophy. Solitude is not loneliness. Instead, it is a powerful state of self-connection, growth, and independence. By embracing solitude, we can unlock the greatest treasure within ourselves. Let us dive in and discover how solitude can be a source of strength, peace, and joy. Part 1. The power of solitude over foolish company. In today's fast-paced society, we are often pushed to be constantly surrounded by people. Whether it's through work, social media, or friendships, there's an unspoken pressure to always be in company. However, Buddhism teaches us that not all company is beneficial. Choosing solitude over foolish or negative company is one of the first steps toward finding inner peace. When we spend time alone, away from the distractions of others, we give ourselves the opportunity to grow mentally and spiritually. In solitude, the mind can clear itself from the chaos of unproductive interactions, and true wisdom can emerge. It is in these quiet moments that we begin to hear our inner voice more clearly. We are no longer clouded by the noise of others' opinions or judgments. Story example. Imagine a young monk named Tenzin who lived in a remote monastery. Surrounded by fellow monks who were constantly engaged in idle chatter, he found himself feeling drained and distracted. One day, he decided to retreat into the mountains for a month of solitude. In the quiet of nature, away from the distractions of everyday life, Tenzin began to hear his inner thoughts more clearly. His mind, once clouded by trivial conversations, now felt sharp and focused. Upon returning to the monastery, he realized that his time alone had allowed him to grow more than any conversation with others ever could. The lesson here is simple. Solitude fosters growth, while negative or foolish company only hinders it. It is better to be alone than in bad company. For solitude is where clarity emerges and peace begins to take root. Part 2. Spending time alone to know yourself better. The more time you spend with yourself, the more you understand who you truly are. In solitude, free from external distractions, you can reflect deeply on your desires, strengths, and even fears. Buddhism places great emphasis on self-awareness, as knowing oneself leads to greater wisdom and inner peace. When you meditate or sit in stillness, you begin to unravel the layers of conditioned beliefs that have been imposed on you by society. Over time, you'll discover that the answers to many of life's questions already reside within you, waiting to be uncovered through introspection. Story example. There was once a Buddhist teacher named Shinzen who guided his students on the path to enlightenment. One of his students, Hiroshi, struggled with the idea of solitude. He feared being alone, thinking that it meant isolation. To help him overcome this fear, Shinzen gave him a simple task: to sit in meditation, alone, for 1 week. At first, Hiroshi felt restless, but as the days passed, he began to reflect deeply on his inner world. By the end of the week, he emerged with a profound understanding of himself. He realized that the fear of being alone was just a barrier to knowing his true self. The deeper you connect with yourself, the clearer your path in life becomes. Solitude is where self-discovery happens, and it is a powerful journey that leads to wisdom and peace. Part 3. Overcoming the fear of being alone. One of the greatest challenges people face is the fear of being alone. Loneliness is often seen as something negative, but Buddhism reframes this fear as an opportunity for growth. Being alone is not something to be feared. It is a space to confront your inner self and emerge stronger. When you spend time in solitude, you learn to be comfortable with your own presence. You realize that you are complete and enough on your own. This realization helps you become emotionally resilient, so you no longer depend on external validation for happiness. The fear of loneliness is often rooted in the misconception that we need others to complete us, but the truth is that we are already whole. Story example. A wise Zen master once said, The moon shines brightest when it is alone in the sky. His student, May, often felt a deep fear of being alone. She constantly sought company, believing that it would fill the void within her. But one night, while sitting by the river, she saw the reflection of the full moon on the water. It was beautiful, serene, and entirely alone. In that moment, May understood that solitude was not emptiness, but fullness. She realized that just like the moon, she too could shine in her own presence. Overcoming the fear of being alone is liberating. It frees you from unhealthy attachments and relationships that drain your energy. In solitude, you learn to appreciate the stillness and see that being alone is where your inner strength thrives. Part 4. Solitude as a space for self-discovery. In solitude, you create a sacred space for self-discovery. Without the noise of others' opinions, you can tune into your own thoughts and feelings, exploring your true potential. Buddhism views solitude as a gateway to understanding one's deeper nature, free from the clutter of external expectations. As you deepen your relationship with yourself, you begin to see life from a clearer, more empowered perspective. In this quiet space, you can realign with your values, recalibrate your goals, and discover the passions that may have been lost in the busy pace of life. Story example. A renowned monk, Master Li, would often retreat into the forest for weeks at a time. His disciples wondered why he would isolate himself so often, but upon his return, Master Li always seemed more serene and wise. One day, a curious disciple asked, "Why do you seek solitude, Master?" He replied, "In solitude, I find the answers that the world cannot give me. It is where I discover who I truly am, beyond the roles I play and the expectations placed upon me." Solitude opens the door to self-acceptance, and in that acceptance, you find the freedom to be your truest self. It is a journey that leads to profound inner peace and personal growth. Part 5. The strength of independence. One of the key teachings in Buddhism is the value of self-reliance. When you spend time in solitude, away from distractions and outside influences, you begin to realize that you are capable of handling life's challenges on your own. This is a powerful realization, as it shows you that you don't need to depend on others for support or validation all the time. Developing self-reliance strengthens your character, making you more resilient and better equipped to handle whatever comes your way. You learn to solve your own problems, manage your emotions, and trust your judgment. Story example. Consider the story of Aiko, a young woman who lived in a bustling city. She had always relied on her friends and family for advice and support. But when she moved to a new country for work, she found herself completely alone. At first, Aiko felt lost, but as she spent time in solitude, she began to trust herself more. She learned to navigate the challenges of life independently, and this newfound strength transformed her. Aiko no longer needed constant reassurance from others. She had discovered the power of self-reliance. When you rely on yourself, you become your own best ally. You realize that the answers you seek are within you, waiting to be uncovered. This inner strength transforms how you view challenges, and instead of fearing them, you see them as opportunities for growth. Part 6. Embracing self-companionship. One of the most profound lessons in Buddhism is the understanding that you are enough just as you are. In a world that constantly encourages us to seek validation from others, whether through social approval, relationships, or material success, it can be difficult to realize that true contentment comes from within. Self-companionship means embracing the idea that you can be your own best friend, your own source of love, and your own source of happiness. It's about learning to enjoy your own company and finding peace in the quiet moments with yourself. Story example. There was once a monk named Arjuna who lived a simple life in the mountains. He had no family or friends, yet he radiated a profound sense of peace and contentment. When asked how he could be so happy alone, Arjuna replied, "I have discovered that the greatest companion I can have is myself. I no longer seek approval from others, for I have found everything I need within." Self-companionship is a journey of self-acceptance, and in that acceptance, you find a deep sense of peace. You learn to enjoy the peacefulness that comes with solitude and to cultivate inner happiness that is not dependent on external circumstances. Part 7. Valuing the power of being an individual. In a world that constantly pushes us to conform to societal expectations, it can be challenging to appreciate the power of being an individual. Buddhism teaches us to value our individuality, recognizing that each of us is unique, with our own set of talents, strengths,